So Nanny, Queen Nanny, she was one of the leaders of the Maroons who would come down, they would fight against the British, get whatever they need, and go back to the mountains. So they never came again under slavery under the British, and they were eventually, the British just got tired of them. They said, look, we're gonna go on. And they said, have your way, and they got their own political autonomy in 1739. And as you can see, again, I mentioned before, Jamaica is an island that treasures its history, and we have a few Nanny, Queen Nanny. She's actually the only female national hero. So you'll see her image on the $500 bill. And she's one of others, again, but she's the only female heroine, national hero, and so her memory is remembered. Then another important event in the history of Jamaica was called the Western Liberation Uprising. And this was actually the largest rebellion against slavery. It was held in December of 1831 and led by a slave, Sam Sharp, who just, again, just like there were rebellions going on here in the States, John Brown and all the other, there were rebellions going on all over the world. And so Sam Sharp led a group of slaves to revolt. Unfortunately, they weren't necessarily successful in that venture. He eventually was hanged. About 14 whites were killed. About 500 slaves were killed. But again, it was an impetus and an important event in eventually bringing about the abolishment of slavery. All right, another important rebellion, the Marantz Bay Rebellion. And this occurred in 1865. Now, by this time, slavery had already been abolished. But what this rebellion was about was basically, now we are free. So it's similar to here in America, where there was the, okay, you're free, you get 40 acres and a mule. Well, in Jamaica, they didn't even get the 40 acres and a mule. But they realized, hey, look, we can't survive like this. We need more, we need land. And so no matter how they tried to appeal to the Queen and the ruling British, they were not getting their needs met. So they led a revolt. Paul Bogle was instrumental in this, and he was also working in close ties with a white, but actually he was really mixed, George W. Gordon. He was actually the son of a slave owner and a slave, and he was very sympathetic with the cause of the freed Jamaicans, and did what he could. He was a member of the House of Assembly. He did what he could to stand up for the cause for the newly freed Jamaicans. And as a result of his intermingling and his support of Paul Bogle, they were both hanged at the end of the Marantz Bay Rebellion. And it was interesting because Gordon was, this happened in St. Thomas, he was nowhere near the rebellion at all, literally, when it happened, but they still had a warrant for his arrest, and he was drawn in and again eventually hung. So Marantz Bay Rebellion, another important event in Jamaican history. And again, Paul Bogle, considered a national hero. As a matter of fact, they have a dance named after him, the Bogle. And then George W. Gordon is also considered one of Jamaica's national heroes. So this is something that definitely should be focused and emphasized during Kids and Culture Camp. And here's some other pictures of them, Paul Bogle and George W. Gordon. All right, other national heroes, and you will see them on some of the money. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pass around some currency. We have Sir Alexander Bustamante, who was the first Prime Minister of Jamaica. So he took over when Jamaica gained independence in '62, and he formed what is one of the two major political parties in Jamaica, the Jamaican Labour Party, JLP. And the JLP is usually in opposition to the People's National Party, who was founded by Sir Norman Manley, another, again, national hero. And then we also have the Honorable Marcus Garvey. He's also considered a national hero for his work in emphasizing that black people should do better for themselves and repatriate to Africa if at all possible. So again, I'm going to pass around some of the currency and you can take a look at them. It has changed during the years. So now there's certain levels of bills they don't even make anymore. They don't make $5 bills. You actually have a $5 coin because the currency, the exchange rate is so high. And actually have an exchange rate, and forgive me, but I'm not sure what the exact exchange rate, and I can look it up real quick before we leave today. But this is a bank slip from a time I was there in 92, where the exchange rate was 1 US to 25 Jamaican. Yeah, when I was there, and the last time I was there was 2010, it was like 86. One US dollar would give you 86 Jamaican dollars. So you go into a store, bread is like $500, and bulla is, which is a little pastry, bulla is like maybe $150. So you think about it, it sounds extreme, but again, when you do the exchange rate, it's still rough. It's still rough. Okay, now we're getting to an interesting part, and this is where I think there is. There's a lot of African influence on Jamaica, but in the food in particular, I think this is where you would find a real heavy influence. So we're going to look at this other jewel of Jamaica, the food. And on your tables, we have some things passing around. So the first thing that I want to share, the national fruit of Jamaica, which is called ackee. And here's a picture of it here. It grows on trees, and it's in a red shell. And when it's ripened, the pod or the shell will open up, and you will see these clusters. They have, and the seeds are black. And then the flesh of the fruit is actually a yellow consistency, kind of looks like eggs. And you have to be very careful with ackee, because if you eat it before it is not properly ripe, or if it's not prepared properly, it can be poisonous and can be fatal. So it's usually made with codfish, or some people say saltfish, which is a salty, actual cod, and you can buy pieces of it. And usually what folks do is they soak it, so a lot of the salts will come out, and then they basically stew it up with onions and pepper, scallion, to have with the ackee. And actually have some, because usually it's a delicacy, when you get it, it's like, ooh, you treasure it. So my aunt brought some back for me, so I'm going to pass this around. It's cold because it's been frozen, so just so you can get a visual of what it looks like. And I've had it without, I haven't eaten saltfish for years, and so you can have it just by itself with other fruits that we're gonna talk about in a minute. So ackee is the national fruit. Yes, yeah, tofu, kind of like an egg, kind of consistency, but very delicious. Some people, for some, it's an acquired taste, but again, that is the national fruit. And as you see here on this plate, I'm gonna start talking about some of these other things. There's some boiled dumpling, and there's some yam, which we're going to talk about in a minute, because these are foods that are definitely an integral part of the Jamaican diet. So as I mentioned before, heavy African influence when it comes to the food. So yam. So here in America, I know that one popular dish is candied yams. So if you say candied yams, most of Jamaicans, that's not yam. This is what Jamaicans know as yam. And this is yellow yam. They have white yam as well. And it's basically a tuber. So it grows in the ground. You have to dig it up. And they also call this ground provision. And so you may just have this, and I'll pass this one around too. Have this as part of your meal. Some people eat that for breakfast, but if you're having a real authentic Jamaican soup, it's going to have some ground provision in it. It's going to have yam, it's going to have dumpling, it's going to have other things like chocho. And this is I know this is called I think chayote in some other parts of the world. Chocho is what we call that in Jamaica. So your soup will have all of these, good. No, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, didn't find any berries.
Is this the papaya?
That's so here they may call it chayote. We call it chocho in Jamaica, and you slice it up and it's just you boil it in the soup. And it has it's a high water content, but again it adds another element of taste to the food. And then another common delicacy, and again the common part grows right on the trees. Everywhere, breadfruit. Okay, so that is another food that Jamaicans will have, and you can roast it, you can boil it, you can fry it. And usually what we do here in the States, we'll light the stove and put the breadfruit literally right on top of the burner so it can roast. And then after it's roasted, you peel it, cut it up, and you can fry it then if you want to, or some people just have it just as it is, roast breadfruit. And I do that so you can see what it looks like inside. But again, that's another delicacy. So this is what it looks like on the inside. That's when it's so usually when folks are coming back and forth now, there's certain things you can't bring just freely. So usually what you have to do is maybe cut it, do some kind of preparation with it before you freeze it, and then you can pack it in your luggage and bring it back. And again, you can freeze it and then have it to enjoy whenever you're ready. And they have a lot of the Caribbean stores, the markets, they will sell these items. Again, any international market, they'll have breadfruit, they'll have ackee. Sometimes they sell them in the cans, because they know, of course, people are here abroad and they'd love to have these items. Then another staple, which is common for breakfast time, is cornmeal, the use of cornmeal. So cornmeal porridge so there may be, cream of wheat is popular here, and oatmeal is popular here in Jamaica. A good breakfast may include some cornmeal porridge. And you're basically boiling the cornmeal, adding milk and sweetener, and it's, again, a good, hearty breakfast to have. I'm also going to mention, even though it's not up here, another distinction in terms of breakfast is Jamaicans will call a lot of different things tea. So when they're saying tea, you have a cup of tea yet? They may be referring to hot cocoa, which is really actually ground up chocolate, or they may be referring to the herbal tea itself. So tea is another important breakfast component. Then, of course, we can't leave out the spices. Spices. There's some spices that are unique to Jamaica, and I have some going around, and there's some that are used also throughout the islands. Okay, so we have nutmeg. So you may grate up some nutmeg to go into the cornmeal porridge. Behind Prashona there, the sister, she has some pimento. If you could pass the pimento around. Those are some seeds that are commonly used in Jamaican cooking, and you can open the packs. Yeah, especially the pimento, because I definitely want you to get that aroma in. And so the pimento might be added to stews. You can add it to rice and peas, which brings me to one very interesting point, and I claim it's another point that distinguishes Jamaicans from other West Indian islands, or even West Indian cultures. We are the only culture or country that calls rice and peas rice and peas. Everywhere else they say peas and rice. They are an important point, because when you think about it, what's more plentiful in the pot? It's the rice. So the rice must come first, so rice and peas. Jamaicans are the only ones that make that distinction. We also have a unique set of seasonings. Some of you may have had some jerk chicken or jerk tofu. I've seen that before. And jerk is just basically a way of preparing it. It's usually meat. There's a special blend of spices, usually hot spices, and then the meat is usually roasted over a big open a pit. And so jerk is a common spice, jerk seasoning that's used in Jamaican cuisine. And of course, you have your Scotch bonnet peppers, which are very small peppers and are very spicy, very, very hot, but they add a special touch to Jamaican meals. And of course, there are some other food. So fruits, we have mangoes. Those are definitely plentiful all over the island. Pineapples, bananas, green and yellow. So Jamaica, we eat